All right, so let's get right into it. There's been a massive shakeup at GitHub, and this is not just some minor reshuffle. The CEO is out, and get this, instead of finding a new one, the entire platform now reports directly to Microsoft's CoreAI division. This is a huge deal, and believe me, the developer community, they noticed. Instantly.
And how did the community respond? Well, with this. You're looking at the single most upvoted comment, and honestly, it says it all. It's this perfect storm of nostalgic humor, biting sarcasm, and some very, very real concern. This one comment just nails the entire vibe right now.
So you got to understand, what we're seeing here is way more than just moving boxes on an org chart. This move is a signal, a huge one, that GitHub is being pulled deep into Microsoft's grand strategy for AI. And that fundamentally changes everything about what GitHub is and what it's going to become.
And here's what's so fascinating about the reaction. It's not that developers hate AI in their tools, not at all. The real fear is that the AI is going to become this omnipresent, kind of intrusive layer. It's the anxiety of GitHub shifting from a tool that's on your side to a system that's, well, always looking over your shoulder.
Okay, so let's dig into what's really going on with all these reactions. Yeah, the jokes are hilarious for sure, but they're also kind of like a Trojan horse, right? Inside all that humor are some very real, deep-seated fears about the future of a platform that, let's face it, entire careers are built on.
And then you get comments like this one. No beating around the bush. This blunt take gets right to the heart of it, introducing a concept a lot of devs are worried about: platform decay. You know, that slow rot that sets in when corporate priorities start to mess with the very user experience that made you love the platform in the first place.
So what does that actually look like for GitHub? Well, it's the fear that suddenly AI is just everywhere, and you can't turn it off. It's the rising concern about data privacy, like who's looking at your code now that AI is constantly scanning it. It's that worry that the core, simple features you use every single day are going to get buried under a pile of shiny new AI stuff you never asked for. And ultimately, yeah, it's the platform shifting from being your tool to just being another part of a giant corporate machine.
Now look, for anyone who's been around the block a few times in this industry, the word integration, especially coming from Microsoft, it kind of sets off alarm bells. There's a history there, a well-known playbook, and it often leads to tighter platform lock-in and a loss of independence for whatever product they absorb.
And this comment right here, it proves this isn't just paranoia. This is immediate, practical, boots-on-the-ground advice. People are literally saying, hey, maybe it's time to take a hard look at your build and deployment pipelines just so you don't get trapped. That's when you know the concern has turned into a genuine business risk that people feel they need to get ahead of, like right now.
Which, of course, brings us to the massive, multi-billion-dollar question on everyone's mind. How is Microsoft going to make us pay for all this? The uncertainty around what the pricing model is going to look like is a huge source of the anxiety.
At first, the speculation started out reasonably enough. Okay, maybe they'll price the new AI features per user, or per commit, per client. The usual models we're all used to. But that calm discussion didn't last long. The conversation took a turn, and fast.
And that's when the sarcasm really kicked into high gear. You can just feel the cynicism boiling over. Someone threw out pricing per CPU core, which is a clear jab at those old-school, nightmarish enterprise licensing models.
Then it escalated to pricing per line of code, with another user joking that every file would just become one long line to get around it. It's funny, but it also feels terrifyingly plausible.
From there, the suggestions just turned fully dystopian. How about pricing per keystroke? Just imagine that, getting billed for every single action you take in your editor.
And finally, we land here. The ultimate expression of developer distrust, price per soul sold. I mean, that says it all, doesn't it? It just drives home how deep the cynicism goes. That feeling that the platform is no longer theirs, and the cost will be way more than just money.
A move like this doesn't happen in a vacuum. When the biggest player on the field makes a fundamental change, it sends ripples across the entire dev ecosystem, and you can absolutely bet that competitors are sitting up and paying very close attention. All of this is forcing what you could call a great reevaluation across the industry. On one side, you have GitHub's new perceived risks: aggressive AI, a totally unknown pricing future, and deep Microsoft lock-in. And on the other, you have the growing appeal of the alternatives: a focused core experience, stable costs, and platform independence. And you can see this sentiment playing out in real time in the comments. You've got users on competing platforms like GitLab who have this smug glance energy. It's a sense of validation, like their choice to go with a more stable, predictable option is really paying off now.
It's not just GitLab either. Even platforms that have been a bit more in the background are suddenly back in the conversation. The idea of migrating to Bitbucket, which might have seemed a little unlikely a year ago, is now being seriously floated as a real option.
And of course, you gotta have a moment for those on the older platforms. This comment, Sobs and Jenkins, just perfectly captures that feeling of being stuck on a less agile toolchain while the rest of the world is changing at light speed around you. It's a little bit of humor and a whole lot of shared empathy.
So, where does this leave the average developer? Well, the key takeaway here isn't that there's going to be a mass exodus from GitHub tomorrow. The real change is in the mindset. It shifted from one of passive trust to one of active preparation.
And that brings us to the absolute heart of the whole issue. When you boil it all down, this entire reaction isn't really about AI, and it's not even just about Microsoft. It's about control. Developers feel a sense of ownership over GitHub. They built its culture, they created its value, and right now, it feels like that control is slipping away. Which brings us full circle. The clippy jokes, the crazy pricing memes, they're all a way of processing a change that feels both massive and completely out of their hands. They are funny, absolutely, but the deep-seated concerns about the future of a developer-first platform, that's no laughing matter at all.